is the first section of geography on the 6th of January 2015, I believe. Is that what today's date is? Yes, it is. So, our 5 themes of geography are as follows. Before we get cracking on this, let me show you something I think is one of my favorite images. You can tell that because it was totally, just my background. It's actually a poster. I don't know if you can see this in how light it is. But what is this? What is this showing? Map of the world when? At night, yeah. And what do we see? Lights, sure. What are those lights, do you think? They're what? Yeah, they're cities, right? What can this map tell us, do you think? It's all good. What can this map tell us? Yeah. Sure. Consider this. Areas of the East Coast of the United States, lots of lights, heavily populated. What about here? What's that? What? It's South America, yeah. No, it's not. In fact, it's the rainforest. not many cities there, I'm afraid. There's one major one, Brasilia, it's the capital. Other than that, it's pretty barren. We see population density. We can see all kinds of things. This map is cool. I like it. But back, I don't remember what that is. I'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk location, where something is. Okay? So first of all, there's a few ways we can talk about where something is. All the 5 things, by the way, are tools. Tools to help us understand more about the world, but also peeling back layers of information. Think about it. Geography is pretty all-inclusive. It's history, it's society, it's culture, it's physical science. It's all kinds of stuff. So by peeling away these layers, we can look at specific things and kind of understand how they interact. So first, where stuff is. Easy, easy. Where are you? School. Okay. If I was going to send you a package, could I send it to school and have it get there? What if I was trying to find, I got to tell your mom where to pick you up. I'll go to school. Did you just punk me? Did you sold me? I don't know if this really worked. We got to be more specific. How do we describe how to get somewheres? Okay, that's one way. Yeah, absolutely. Maps. Yeah. Let's talk about directions for just a second. How do you give somebody directions? Give me an example. Turn right. Okay. On what? On a specific street. Sure. Okay. By the way, that's an example of relative location. We use it all the time. Yeah, the hat is on top of the helmet. The shield is on the wall. This person is next to this person. It is using some commonly held knowledge and explaining it in relation to that. Makes sense, yeah? We do it all the time. We use landmarks. It's great. Of course, there's problems with that. Sometimes the knowledge isn't common. For instance, have you ever heard your parents or somebody who is of a older persuasion say, it's next to the old Winn-Dixie, or something like that, when there's in fact no Winn-Dixie anywhere in sight? Well, it used to be there. My favorite is, oh yeah, it's next to that place that burned down. How would you know unless it's like rubble where it is? It has to be common knowledge, or very at least able to become common knowledge by seeing, So instead of using something that's quite as weak as that, when we talk about larger scale navigation, we talk about absolute location. Usually this is where longitude and latitude come. Now longitude and latitude are imaginary lines that we create to help us look at the world and make sense of it. So we use degrees and minutes to determine where something is. By the way, which is which? Which goes north to south? Longitude, right. And the other one is east to west. That is correct. Now here's the interesting thing about it. Let's talk about North America for a second. Where is it? If you happen to know the longitude and latitude, that's way more than I know, so well done. but most of us probably do not. So to describe it on a global scale, we can divide the Earth in half using longitude and latitude. So let's divide in half using 0 degrees longitude. What's 0 degrees longitude called, by the way? 0 degrees longitude is the prime meridian, sure. All right, so we divide it, and now we have an eastern and a western hemisphere. So where's North America? It's the western hemisphere, right on. But here's the problem with that. So is South America. So we need a little bit more refinement. So let's divide it the other way. Divide it using the equator. 0 degrees latitude. Yeah, so it's the northern hemisphere and the western hemisphere, or northwestern hemisphere. Make sense? That's a good way of describing where something is. This is, again, helpful because we can also use it in relation to other places. But that only works if we know where it is. Let's say it's north of Sri Lanka. You good? Will be. It's next to India. All right. See, this is the thing that's great. Geography is helpful in a lot of different ways. Now, most of you guys probably use something along this line. It's kind of humorous because this particular set of directions, of course, has the swim across the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah. Because, sometimes you just got to know how to get somewhere. But regardless, navigation is one of those things that we have powerful tools at our fingertips. Every single one of us, for the most part, is probably carrying some form of GPS receiver on our persons. A phone or a tablet or something along those lines. Now let's talk place. Place is describing where someone is like. Place is good for a number of different things. It can give us an idea of what to expect. This could be climate, talk about weather, we can talk about physical features, is it hilly, is it flat, and all these types of things. In fact, human beings for centuries have been using place names to describe places to know what to expect when we get there. And also to warn people from going certain places. For instance, in the United States, we have a very, very dry desert. You know what we call it? Death Valley. Maybe I shouldn't go there if I like to live. It's descriptive. And some of them are really kind of elaborate descriptions. My favorite desert in Asia, the Taklamakan Desert, translates into the place where you go but don't come out again. Okay. Because it's just that cool. You go there, it's like a party. It's not what happens there. There's lots of sand. It's not, actually, technically, there's a lot of ice there too. It's weird. But describing somewhere. The Ohio Valley is another great one. The Ohio River Valley. We live here. It's kind of cool stuff like that. Weather is kind of weird here because of it. You noticed. For instance, let's talk humidity for just a second. Is it very hot in Kentucky? It is summer, and the thing is let's talk hot, okay? Let's talk the middle of the Sahara Desert. Temperatures in excess of 120 degrees Fahrenheit in the shade. It's kind of intense. But here's the thing is, how does humidity affect heat? Yes, it does. You're absolutely right. I've known people from Arizona to pass out in the heat of Kentucky summer. Even though it's hotter in Arizona, it's a drier heat. So humidity does weird things with the temperature, not to mention allergens and things like that. So again, it affects weather. Let's look at some weather. You guys ever play that geography game where it shows you a picture and where is this in the world? It scores your points by how accurate you are? You don't have to play that someday. It's really hard. Case in point. Where is this, do you think? Texas. You're not too far off, actually.
Mexico. Nevada.
No. It's actually South America. It's Chile.
So it was wrong.
Yeah, I was wrong. I was wrong. Not bad. No, it's Chile. How about this one?
North Carolina. Kentucky. Is this in the U.S.?
This is in the U.S.
Kentucky.
Alaska. There's summer in Alaska, but it's Alaska. How about this?
Virginia.
It is in the United States.
Washington. Wisconsin.
Kentucky.
Oh,
It's on I-65.
I knew I recognized.
Yeah.
Come on.
Right there to win. Hey, don't stifle her knowledge. Don't be jealous. This is the thing I'm trying to get across though. Place changes. That's the thing with place, is it's constantly changing depending on our inputs, as well as the movement of weather. Remember, we're describing some place, so it changes depending on the season, depends on how we change it. Take, for instance, Las Vegas. Las Vegas is in the middle of a desert, yeah? But if you've ever seen it from a satellite, it's like this little blob of green in the desert. It's really neat, actually. Without two technologies, a lot of the West couldn't be settled. Does know what those two technologies are? Yes! People never think of the obvious. Yeah, air conditioning is a huge deal. Also irrigation. These two things allow for the south of the West and many other places. That's the neat thing about human beings, guys, is we can live anywhere. Think of the most inhospitable place that exists. You know, basically, all you need is to live, and it's not there. Space. Oh, you like oxygen? None for you. You like temperatures kind of normal? How about so hot it'll make your skin burn off, or so cold your blood will freeze in your veins? In fact, due to temperature variances in the fact that the pressure, overpressure is so great that your spit will boil in your mouth before your head implodes. You cannot survive. Apparently NASA does things in space. But I know, right? It's all these things. It's like, wow, that sounds really awful, and yet we got dudes living there right now. That's pretty crazy, right? We can adapt to our environment in ways like you would not believe, which eventually will get us to our fourth theme, human-environment interaction. But first, we have region. Region is cultural similarities. Consider this. The United States is pretty weird. We have so many cultures present, we really don't even have a culture. I mean, if I say American food, we do have American cuisine. It does exist, but they're often variations of cuisine found other places. You know, we do have a culture, but it tends to be rather the mixing of other cultures. That's kind of our claim to fame, you know, the whole melting pot analogy. Other places aren't quite so like that, you know. They tend to have other similarities, differences, things like that. That being said, we can draw parallels even with the United States. Let's look at language for just a second. What language do we speak in the United States? Yes. American English is our number one language. Do other people speak other languages? Yes. But the language of the land is American English. Okay? Let's trace that. Where does it come from? England. Specifically from a group of people called the Angles. That's where the English comes from. Angles. By the way, root language. What is English based off of? No. There's a lot of Latin words in it, but we're not a Romance language. I'll give you two examples of a common word in English. The word cold. Maybe start with it's chill, cold, right? All right. Two similar words. Portuguese, which is of course a Romance language. The closest word is caldo. Okay. In German, kalt. German, kalt means cold. In Portuguese, caldo means hot. You know, studying Spanish, caliente, hot, yes. Romance languages. We're a Germanic language. So, this whole thing going on there. Think about other countries that speak language as their, or English as their primary language. You got England, you got the United Kingdom, you got Canada, you know, all these other. And think about how different the language is in all those places. You know, both in terms of dialect, how it's spoken, not even the accents. All this stuff, we share a common cultural heritage, but we're also very, very different. Take England for just a second. Let's talk breakfast drinks. If you think England, what do you think? Right. What about the United States? Burgers? I was going to say breakfast drink hamburgers. That is so hardcore. I like the burger, but I might drink a hamburger. That's awesome. Coffee, yeah, tends to be the breakfast drink of choice. You know why? The American Revolutionary War. We hate Britain. We really hated Britain. So we're like, whatever is British, we're not getting anymore. You guys drink tea, we're drinking coffee. You guys are drinking rum, we're drinking gin. Or excuse me, bourbon. You guys are dressing this particular way, we're going to dress a different way. You know, everything's a bit. We even debated about changing the national language. Guess what? Think about what we just talked about. There you go. Which would be interesting because in World War I we probably would have sided with Germany, so things would be different. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Getting back to the original point. We can draw cultural similarities, and thus we're kind of considered a region. Even though we're not one country, we have these cultural similarities. Does that make sense? So when I say the Middle East, you guys thinking maybe something along these lines, yes? This guy is actually from Africa, specifically Morocco. This is because in 600 AD, the Prophet Muhammad spread the religion through forced armies and created a giant crusade, essentially, to create an empire, which stretched all the way from Morocco to Iran. So it was a big empire. So they spread not only the religion, but also the language and the cultural customs. So it's very, very similar. Notice I didn't say Pakistan. Pakistan is actually more similar to India. Even though the Muslims, it's actually used to be part of India. So while Pakistan is not part of the Middle East, Morocco is. That's just kind of a moment there. Let's see. Again, because of cultural similarities. See the same thing with China. China was a major cultural heart for East Asia. Changed a lot of things. This is a map again of the Middle East. Fourth theme, human environment interaction. I'm going to speed up just a hair so we can make sure we get through everything. So we already talked about space. But there's other ways that we can affect the environment and are affected right back. Consider how we dress. What you wear on a given moment is generally dependent upon the weather. Unless you're just really stubborn, like, I'm wearing yoga pants, don't care how hot or cold it is. You know? Although I did think it was hilarious when I saw yoga shorts. I'm like, really? Aren't they just kind of like athletic shorts? Why we got to make them yoga? It's weird to me. Anyways. But also consider how people, react to other more harsh climates. Take, for instance, the Middle East. It's hot there, yeah? And why do they cover themselves head to toe? Culture's kind of a lazy reason.
Religion?
Not just religion. Religion often is informed by other things. Hmm? Let's talk physical geography. Yeah, what does the sun do? It cooks you. Yeah? So you cover yourself head to toe to act as portable shade. Ah, but what does black do? It absorbs it, but the material is also light enough that it breathes, so it moves that air around. so it keeps you from overheating. It actually makes more sense because if it was too light, it would let in UV radiation and you would still cook. So it's all designed specifically to take advantage of that environment. Here's some other examples. We affect the environment right back through pollution. We also change the landscape. There's all kinds of ways we can influence the environment. But also how we survive. What food we eat. How we live our lives. How we live our lives. This is a Mongolian yurt, or ger. Traditionally, the Mongolians are herdsmen. If you think about Mongolia, it's basically wide open grasslands like this. Really terrible for sporting animals. Great for sporting sheep. Hopefully they're set up tomorrow. Guys, until tomorrow, TTFN. Ta-ta for now. We'll see you later.